So to start, you can add a table of contents going to Insert in Google Docs and choosing Table of Contents, and you can choose the page numbers or the linked version. Let's choose the page numbers. And it says you have to add headings. So next is going to be to apply headings to each section you want to show up in your table of contents. So for example, I have a document here with a bunch of bolded headings. I need to tell Google Docs that I want those parts to show up in my table of contents up here. So I'll go to one of the sections I want, and I'll put my cursor in that section, and I'll say up here in Styles, I'll apply heading 1. And maybe I don't want heading 1 to be this big, giant, bold section. Maybe I want it to be centered and purple and underlined and a Roboto font and a smaller size. I can then tell Google I want this to be the heading 1 format. So I can go back into Styles and click over here and say update heading 1 to match. This then tells Google that I want this style to be heading 1. So if I go down here and I say heading 1, this is now heading 1, and I can say this is now heading 1, and this is now heading 1, and everything that I apply the label heading 1 to matches this new format, and it also will show up in my table of contents. So if I go back to the top and I click on this refresh icon, all the sections I added will now show up in my table of contents. So I can now click on show your work, and a link pops up and it brings me right down to the show your work section. The nice thing here as well is if I now change where these pages are, so if I put this section here on the next page and this section here 2 more pages down, now kinematics is on page 5, for example. Back into the table of contents, if I press refresh, look, kinematics is now on page 5, which is really handy. I can also use heading 2 to show a section. So maybe I actually want dynamics to be a subsection of this kinematic section. I can go up here, heading 2, it'll apply the heading 2 font, and if I go back to my table of contents, and if I say refresh, it now shows dynamics as a subsection of this other section here. One other cool thing you can do here for easy navigation for yourself is the View Show Document Outline. So if I go to View and I say Show Document Outline, I can quickly see all the sections in my document with just quick links. I can click on these things here, and I can remove these things if I want them. I don't want this part, for example, in my outline. And that just lets me quickly navigate my own document if I have a big, long document and I can go easily click around where I want to go. So main steps: insert table of contents, insert table of contents. Then every part of the document you want to be included in the table of contents needs to have a heading applied to it. And that's just a matter of clicking a section, clicking on the style, choosing a heading, and you can even change the format of those headings. Once you've changed the format of this text, heading, click this little arrow, and update heading 1 to match. Good luck!